The night in Manchester was heavy with anticipation. Two proud sons of the United Kingdom, each carrying not just gloves, but the weight of legacy, stepped into the squared circle. Carl Frampton, the seasoned veteran, a man who had conquered two weight divisions, admired for his precision, timing, and ring IQ. Across from him stood Josh Warrington, the relentless Leeds warrior, undefeated, a pressure machine who refused to take a step back. The air was electric. Fans filled every seat, their chants echoing like a war cry, half for Frampton, half for Warrington, their voices colliding like the fighters themselves soon would. The lights dimmed, the ring illuminated, and both men stood face to face. Frampton's calm eyes burned with experience. Warrington's gaze locked, full of defiance and hunger. Something in the atmosphere said this would not be a chess match. This was going to be war. The bell rang, and Warrington wasted no time. From the first second, he rushed forward like a storm breaking its dam, smothering Frampton with furious combinations. His hands were a blur, hooks, uppercuts, straights, thrown in relentless volume. Frampton tried to weather it, to measure distance with his jab, but Warrington was already inside, punishing the body, ripping through the guard. Every clean shot drew a roar from the crowd. Frampton, known for his composure, suddenly found himself on the back foot, forced into a brawl he didn't plan for. Warrington's fists crashed against him like hammers, shaking the veteran's defenses. Round one ended with Frampton breathing heavy, Warrington standing tall, and the audience in disbelief. This was not the fight Round two began, and the truth was undeniable. Josh Warrington had come with a plan to break Carl Frampton early. No time for slow chess, no time for study. This was blitzkrieg. Warrington's feet never stopped moving forward. His gloves never stopped throwing. His punches didn't just land, they poured like rain in a hurricane. Frampton, though rattled, refused to break. He tried digging into Warrington's rhythm with counters, sharp right hands, clean hooks that snapped Josh's head back. For moments, the veteran's skill shone through, and the crowd gasped when he connected. But Warrington's answer was immediate, vicious. Every time Frampton landed, Josh answered with 3, 4, 5 shots, each harder than the last. The sound inside the arena was madness. Leeds fans screamed with every Warrington flurry. Belfast voices roared back every time Frampton stood his ground. The ring was no longer a boxing platform. It was a battlefield where pride itself was under fire. As the round closed, Warrington pinned Frampton to the ropes and unleashed a savage sequence. Left hook to the ribs, right uppercut through the guard, straight right down the middle. Frampton's legs shook, but his heart never faltered. He survived the storm, staggering back to his corner. But the message was clear. This was going to be the fight of his life. By round 4, the fight was no longer technical. It was primal. Sweat and blood mixed under the bright lights as both men dug deep. Warrington kept up his insane pace, throwing combinations that most fighters couldn't sustain for a single round, let alone several. His energy was a weapon, his will unbreakable. Frampton, battered but unbowed, adjusted. He began timing Warrington's rushes, slipping punches, firing counterhooks that cracked against Josh's jaw. The crowd erupted as the veteran showed flashes of brilliance, proving that his heart was as sharp as his skill. At one point, Frampton landed a right hand so clean it froze Warrington for a split second, and the entire arena gasped. Was the tide turning? But Warrington's chin, like his spirit, refused to give way. He bit down on his mouthpiece, roared forward, and answered with yet another barrage. His punches came from every angle, hooks, straights, uppercuts thrown with fury. Frampton, forced into the trenches, fought back with everything he had. Every exchange was a coin toss of survival. The bell rang, and both men returned to their corners, faces swollen, bodies bruised. But one truth was clear. Josh Warrington wasn't slowing down. If Frampton wanted victory, he'd have to walk through fire. The later rounds unfolded like a scene carved into history. Warrington's output never wavered. Round after round, he pressed, punished, and suffocated. Frampton landed counters, dug to the body, and fired back with courage that drew respect from even his opponent's fans. But the tide, unrelenting, belonged to Warrington. By round 10, the arena was a cauldron of chaos. Every Warrington combination drew roars. Every Frampton counter sparked hope. But as the minutes bled away, it was clear. The younger man's pressure was writing the story. When the final bell rang, both fighters embraced, knowing they had given everything. The judges' cards confirmed what the crowd had already felt. Josh Warrington, by unanimous decision, had conquered the night. The announcement shook the arena. Warrington, arms raised high, the new champion. Frampton, beaten but never broken, walked away to chants of respect. Two warriors, one battlefield. A fight that would be remembered not for belts alone, but for heart, will, and the courage to stand in fire. The fight between Carl Frampton and Josh Warrington had already been a masterpiece of willpower, skill, and heart. Both men had pushed themselves beyond their limits, refusing to surrender an inch. But as the final rounds approached, the atmosphere inside the arena shifted. Everyone sensed that history was about to be written. Frampton, blood trickling from a cut above his eye, dug deep, knowing that this could be the last great stand of his career. Warrington, relentless as ever, came forward like a storm, his combinations sharp, his volume unending. Every punch landed with the weight of destiny, and yet Frampton countered with precise hooks and uppercuts that shook the Leeds warrior. The crowd was split, half chanting Frampton, Frampton, while the other roared back Warrington, Warrington. The noise was deafening, a soundtrack of chaos and glory. In the final minute, both fighters planted their feet and let everything go. Warrington's engine never faltered. He poured on furious combinations that forced Frampton to the ropes. The Irishman answered with a thunderous left hook that snapped Warrington's head back, drawing gasps from the crowd. For a moment, it seemed as though Frampton might steal the night with one last heroic blow. But Warrington refused to break. His fists kept flying, drowning Frampton in a wave of pressure until the bell finally rang. When it ended, neither man could stand tall without leaning on the ropes. They embraced, two warriors who had given every ounce of themselves. The judges read the scores. By unanimous decision, the winner, Josh Warrington. The arena erupted. Frampton, though beaten, was carried on a tide of respect, his legacy sealed, his heart unquestioned. Warrington, now victorious, raised his fists high.